Hi guys, in my last video I did a simulation of a consecutive interpretation from a press conference from around 10 years ago in Italy. If you haven't already watched that video, I suggest you do for some context, but I'm just going to talk through the way I take notes, some of the symbols I use, some of the abbreviations I use. Disclaimer out of the way, this is not me attempting to teach anyone via YouTube how to do consecutive interpretation. I would never suggest that that would be possible. I would never be so bold as to make a claim such as that. There are some wonderful tutorials and a lot of good resource material nevertheless on that subject. It takes months and years to develop very good consecutive interpretation skills. Anyway, so just to show you what an interpreter's notepad looks like, there is Exhibit A. As you can see, much of it is symbols, abbreviations, and shortened ideas in many cases. The general idea in terms of any note-taking exercise is subject, verb, object. Who is doing what to whom? We also tend to write diagonally because that makes it slightly quicker to be able to read those ideas. But also football, in terms of its statistical nature and some of the language that we have within the game, lends itself quite well to these abbreviations. Already on the first page you can see, this is actually the second page. On the first page you can see W for a win. Here we have H2H, which is head to head. We have GF, goals for. So lots of different statistics in there, and these arrows are simply recalling an idea. There was a bit of repetition from Conte initially. He said, stiamo parlando di una squadra, il Siena. We're talking about a Siena side. So he said that 3 times in a row. I wrote it once here at the top, and then that's the first idea. Then I was able to recall it here and here. These are separate ideas, as you can see, with the line ruling them off. Moving swiftly on, we had GF, goals for. This time we have goals against. So I'm simply using some of the abbreviations that you would see in a football table to talk about goals for and goals against. He was saying that they had the one of the best attack and one of the best defences. This is an ear because he's been hearing lots of BS, lots of bullshit. And here we have sporting director, the club president, the players, anything that pertains to an individual. I tend to abbreviate the start of the word, so possibly the first syllable, and then write a dot in the top right, which lets me know that it is a person. And then depending on what the first half of that word is, I know who it is. Up here we have the inverted commas. That's because he was talking about these so-called football experts, these pseudo-intenditori di calcio. So moving swiftly on here, I mentioned this on a previous video, when you do have player names, and often these are rattled off, you're talking about team news or whatever it may be, typically I try and simply write the initials of the player, so first name and surname, and that is normally enough to jog my memory. Whilst I was familiar with that particular Siena side, it's the best part of a decade ago, so I was able to get Massimo Maccarone. The rest of them I had to rely on it. GH was Ghezza, then we have Rossi, Curci, and Ekdal. I was able to write those names out in full. Quite fortunate in they were quite short names. But this is never an easy exercise. In fact, when I did the interpretation, I perhaps let too much time lapse between me taking my notes and hearing the original and then giving the rendition because of obviously technological and logistical constraints there. So yet another caveat, yet another chance for me to throw out a few excuses for my rather lackluster performance. Atalanta, the same team, so we have 11, that's the number of players in a side, and then lots of abbreviations, Livorno, Torino, and so on and so forth. P-O is the playoffs. There we have the L, we've already seen the W for win and loss. So as you can see, there's lots of arrows, things going up, things going down. We've got symbols in there, so euros or dollar signs when we're talking about finance, we're talking about wage bills. These numbers crop up again, things that look good or bad, a plus or minus. Any line underneath is a way of reinforcing an idea, so it might be very or extremely if it's 2 lines. And here he was talking about there's no love for Siena, non si vuole bene al Siena, or non si vuole bene il Siena, as he said, which, if you ask me, is grammatically incorrect. But yeah, lots of details here, and basically this allows us to get a whole idea onto one page. That's why I actually split the page in 2, because I don't like the prospect of one meaning unit or an idea going across the page, it can be quite difficult to get your train of thought. So this is not journalist shorthand. We're not doing anything in terms of specific sounds. These are all ideas. They're a way of noting down these ideas. These are not hard and fast words, ideas, so they can be expressed in different words. That's what interpretation is all about. This is not specifically choosing a word and having a literal translation. It's about conveying the meaning of the message. It was a challenging exercise, but I just wanted to give you some insight into the way I take notes. And if you are interested in learning more about consecutive interpretation, then by all means take a look at the links that I've put down at the bottom of the page in the video description. Thanks guys, hope you enjoy that. I'll be back with the next video talking a bit more about my commentary work as opposed to my interpretation work. See you on the next one.